Hey, listen up. This is a map of a cozy little part of Highland, Indiana, a town in Lake County in which around 24,000 people call home. And here are all the locations of the mattress retailer called Mattress Firm. What you're seeing are 5 locations from the same company less than 1 mile apart. And if you think this looks suspicious, you're certainly not the only one. Average Joes and Johns from all over have suspected Mattress Firm to be a money laundering front for years. All it took was a few wise asses on the internet to start blabbing, and all of a sudden, all kinds of schmucks are breathing down their neck. Mattress Firm stores are all over America, and with over 2,300 locations, there's a Mattress Firm store for every 2.5 Wendy's restaurants in the country. So you're probably wondering, did we have anything to do with this? Or did these concerned citizens just have a few screws loose? Like all conspiracy theories, it all starts on a foundation of truth. In the summer of 2016, Mattress Firm was acquired by a South African company by the name of Steinhoff International, which in itself is just Jewish-sounding enough to get conspiracy whack jobs connecting all kinds of imaginary dots. But I digress. In 2017, Steinhoff would report accounting irregularities at its newly acquired company, but it wasn't the kind you might expect. As opposed to money laundering, which is wise guys like yours truly filtering money from criminal activity through a legitimate business, it seems as if executives at Mattress Firm were doing the opposite. These bozos barely had 2 cents to rub together, so they were just making up dealings which never happened, to make it seem like they had more cash than they did. These weren't the only crook suits high up in the company neither, as only a year later, the business would enter into a legal dispute with 2 former associates. As it turns out, the 2 higher-ups had figured out a foolproof way to skim money from the top without no one noticing. All it took was a little help from a buddy in real estate. Here's how it worked. The 2 knuckleheads at the top would tip off their friend to where the company was planning to expand. This third schmuck would then swoop in and give the owner an offer they couldn't refuse, usually well above market value. They would then sell the property to the company, knowing full well that Mattress Firm had billions in its back pocket. Then once the heat had died down, they'd split the dough 3 ways, and no one would be the wiser. To throw off suspicion, the suits were usually paid in watches, European vacations, and even waterfront properties in Florida. These 3 lived like kings, and supposedly one of these places came with its own yacht. But on that matter, these guys very wisely pleaded the fifth. When the 3 stooges eventually got caught, they had the balls to accuse the company of trying to use them as scapegoats. Could you imagine? In my line of work, you steal from the boss, you get whacked. But these 2-faced scumbags just got a slap on the wrist. In any case, the whole thing proved that Mattress Firm wasn't a financially sound operation. And unlike us, where we could just find more stock which fell off the back of a truck, these guys were actually above board. By the end of that same year, Mattress Firm would start a complete overhaul of the company. They'd restructure its debt obligations, fire its scumbag leadership, close a bunch of deadbeat stores, and officially declare bankruptcy. It was a new chapter in the company's life, and as you might have guessed, they were still 100% legit. With this being said, none of this explains why the hell there could be so many stores so close together, but that's a whole nother story. The explanation comes down to 3 things, with the first being the store themselves. Not many schmucks know this, but running a mattress store ain't even that expensive. Barely anyone even walks in. You only need like 2 or 3 guys in the floor at any one time, and in most cases, they're paid on commission. If they don't make a sale, the company barely has to pay them a dime. Hell, you don't even need to keep stock in the stores at all. You can just keep that shit in a nearby warehouse and ship it to wherever the customer wants. Let some other numbskull do the heavy lifting. The second factor is that the mattresses themselves are an absolute racket. A typical store will mark these things up 40 to 50% at minimum, but this can jump all the way up to 900% if their marketing team is cranking out the bullshit. What this means is that a typical store only needs to sell around 20 mattresses a month to break even, which is less than 1 measly mattress a day. Anything on top is pure profit, and people call us criminals? The third piece of this conspiracy theory puzzle all comes down to Mattress Firm's business strategy. In the early 2000s, some wise guy at the top had the idea that Mattress Firm would be the first mattress retailer to stretch from coast to coast across America. And to do this, they employed a policy of aggressive expansion. These guys would borrow money up to their ears and buy out every other mattress company they could find, many of which would have been stores right next to their own. A lot of the time when they bought a competitor, they'd also inherit their long-term leases, meaning sometimes they were stuck with these stores for years. The best thing they could do is quickly rebrand and hope they'd make enough cash to pay their landlord until they could get the hell out of there. In fact, of those 5 stores I showed you at the start in Highland, Indiana, only 2 are still standing. I know this because I bought one myself and turned it into a gym. After all, what good's hiring muscle without the muscle? I'm being completely honest with you, but me and my guys have nothing to do with this one. Cross my heart. Hell, some guy a while back even tried to ask the feds about the operation. But you know how they are. They can't confirm or deny any such investigation. In fact, the only thing we have in common is while I help people sleep with the fishes, Mattress Firm helps with the regular kind of beauty sleep. Now before you go, this video was funded by over 900 Patreon supporters, so if you liked it, maybe spare some change for Uncle Joey over here. If you liked the video, leave us a comment, and maybe we can do it again sometime. Now get lost!